New NBA Plus Stuff podcast, link in the description. Talked about the Wizards and if they can ever become title contenders. Also talked about if Call of Duty World War II is any good or not. Now we're going to talk about my favorite player of all time, Andre Iguodala, for a little bit. He's not the focus of this video, but Iguodala's combination of athleticism, defense, and just being a really smart player has made him one of the more valuable guys in the NBA for probably the last decade or so. And I think Jalen Brown actually shows a lot of the qualities that Andre Iguodala showed when he was really in his prime. And I don't think they're the exact same player, but when we look at their physical frames, how athletic they are, and how good Jalen Brown currently is on defense in only his second season, I think the Andre Iguodala comparisons for him can start to become a thing. Jalen is 6'7", 220 pounds, and he also has a 7-foot wingspan, while also having a lot of defensive instincts, as well as just being farther along than a lot of NBA players ever get to, really, from a physical standpoint. He can be a special defender, one who I feel can be one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, which of course is what Andre Iguodala was for a long stretch of his career, even if he's been on the decline the last season and definitely this one. So immediately, I think the comparison makes sense between them on that side of the floor. But of course, they are not exact replicas of one another, as I will get to, especially on the offensive side of the floor. But still, the physical frame, as well as the smarts defensively, I think is what really reminds me of Iguodala when I do think of Jalen Brown. Because you can have all the physical traits in the world, but if you don't really know how to play defense, and you don't know the art of defense in terms of knowing what to do in the right situation, knowing the matchups and the scouting reports, then you're really never that great of a defender. But Jalen is showing that stuff. And then athletically, it's tough to remember with Iguodala just because he is a bit older at this point, but when he was in Philadelphia, dude could get up there, and he was robbed in the dunk contest that one time because it was the Nate Robinson show. Just saying. Jalen, everyone's pointed out his athleticism. The plays that he can make in transition are pretty damn special. He's always an alley-oop target. He's got Brad Stevens, who uses that alley-oop ability to cut to the basket. Not all the time, but he does it just enough to keep the defense awake. And Jalen can make plays that some guys simply can't, in the form of maybe tip-in dunks could be a thing later on in his career, offensive rebounds to go along with that, as well as just sometimes he'll just bail you out of a tough situation because he can just jump really high. His three-point shot, though, is what could separate him from Iguodala offensively, in that he's shooting over 40% from three right now. He shot around 35% in his rookie season, but he's exploded this year, man, and I did not think the jumper was going to be this good for him this quickly. You could have told me that he was going to shoot this well at any point in his career, and I would have side-eyed you a little bit. He's hoisted him up there, and they're dropping, man. If he can maintain this will be the question, but regardless of whether he's this lights-out shooter or not, I think it's fair to say he's going to be an above-average outside shooter in the NBA. Now, that is a bit different than Iguodala because Andre, his shooting has been suspect his whole career. His ball handling has been more of his go-to on offense. Sure, it doesn't happen as much with the Warriors anymore, but he still averages around 3 assists a game with less than 1 turnover, being a ball handler for them at times. And there have been chunks of his career where he's averaged 5-6 assists a game. He's played in the pick and roll. He's beaten guys off the bounce. I think those are the differences between them. I would say Jalen is kind of a more modern-day Iguodala because three-point shooting is such an emphasis in today's game. If Jalen came up in the time that Andre did, maybe he would have been molded to be more of a ball handler. But, it's about to be 2018, so this is the NBA we have. Can Jalen ever really progress as a ball handler? The one thing he does do well is if the defense leaves him open, he can attack a bit. And he does show smarts. The cutting, sure, if you do leave him open, but I mainly want to focus on, can he become the ball handler that Iguodala is? He does show good poise in attacking closeouts and recognizing where the help is going to come from. I don't know why he does some, spinning layup thing here, but whatever. So he does show some signs. Can he ever get to Andre Iguodala's level of really beating guys off the bounce like that and hitting them with crossovers between the leg moves behind the backs and stuff like that? I don't know if that stuff's ever going to come for Jaylen. I do think he has a bit more room to improve, but I really don't think we're going to see him creating his own offense like that consistently. And I think that's why I don't know if he can ever become like a big 20-plus point scorer, but that's totally fine. If he can just average 15, 16 throughout his entire career while being so good defensively and doing everything he can do as an athlete, then that's all you can ask for of Jaylen Brown. So while I don't think he's ever going to be able to do what we're seeing him in the footage doing right now, which is consistently beating like guards off the dribble and playing in the pick and roll and finishing down low like that, if he can just attack big men when he gets switched onto them, I think that can be good. He has shown some signs as a post-up player. Perhaps that could be his way of creating his own offense a bit more. We'll just have to see. But like I said, he does remind me a lot of Iguodala. The physical frame, the smarts defensively, the ability to defend multiple positions, switch onto guys, know what to do in basically any situation. And sure, there are some differences between them offensively, but I think a lot of those are just a product of the different eras that they came up with in the NBA. So Jaylen Brown is exciting. I think he's already one of the more valuable players in the league, and he just keeps on getting better, only in his second season. And if I can sell out one more time, new podcast in the description talking about the Wizards as well as Call of Duty World War II.